What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today I want to try and break apart the biggest myth in gaming, that the Xbox One is totally failing in the console war. To start with, let's go back to the early 2000s. Let's look at the launch of the original Xbox. This was a very rocky time for all of gaming. The PS2 was on the market and absolutely killing it because, let's face it, it was the cheapest DVD player in the world. Everybody wanted this new format of high-definition video, but also, it was just something that was cool to have in your living room, and it also played some great games like Final Fantasy X. Microsoft wanted into this market, but they wanted to break in their own unique way. Microsoft had always been making computer hardware, so they basically just took the cheapest, best graphics card they could have, the cheapest hard drive, and they put them together in a box and sold it. The Direct Xbox. That's really where the name comes from. Developers absolutely love this piece of hardware because it was so easy to program for. You could literally take any PC game that existed and set it on this console. It worked like a charm, and it actually managed to really introduce all sorts of new elements of console first-person shooters that had multiplayer that we'd never seen before. At the same time, the PS2 was coming up with better RPGs and all sorts of cool graphical engines, higher definition cutscenes than we'd seen before. It was a great time, but then comes the Xbox 360. This is when Microsoft absolutely dominated. Everybody had to have an Xbox 360. If you're watching this video, there's a 99% chance you had an Xbox 360 in about 15 games. All of us had to get Elder Scrolls, even if it was just like Oblivion. It had backwards compatibility, so everybody, of course, has still playing all their Xbox One games, or Xbox original games on their Xbox 360. There was Dead Rising. There was the Xbox Live Marketplace, introducing indie games to audiences for the first time. But then something happened. The tide started to change. The PlayStation 3 started being cheaper, it started getting better games, and more interesting exclusives like the Uncharted series. Suddenly, everybody was talking about Sony, and Microsoft was losing attention fast. Now, let's jump straight forward to the modern day. The Xbox One is almost unheard of. Now, it's a lot more popular in certain countries, like I know part of my audience is in Spain and in Europe. You guys actually played the Xbox One a lot more than like the Americans or the Japanese. I was looking at some direct sales numbers. Last week in Japan, they sold 111 Xboxes. Yeah, 111. Not 111,000. 111, period. Obviously, those sales are by any measure stagnant. But if you actually gather up all the total sales of the Xbox One to date, it's close to 26 million. The console sales are very, very strong. I mean, they don't really compare to the 55 million PlayStation 4s, but this isn't that kind of competition. The problem, I think, is a lot of people want one clear winner and one clear loser. This isn't really that type of market. So, when you're looking at math, there's a term called the zero-sum game. What this basically equals to is equations where there can only be one winner, where there's only one possible outcome and everything else is incorrect. This isn't really the way the gaming market works. There's varying states of success. Well, unless your console absolutely bombs. If you want to look at a console that truly failed, a console that lost in a console war in every way you can possibly imagine, just look at the Sega Saturn. Sega decided to launch this randomly. Yes, that's right, they called together a giant press conference the size of E3 to say, hey, guess what? It's in your Toys R Us now. There were no games for it. It basically couldn't do anything. This is way before DVDs, so they couldn't even try and get into your house the PlayStation 2 method. This was just a really expensive, really fancy decoration that did almost nothing. It's in this way that the Xbox One is secretly killing it. Xbox One has figured out something that a lot of the other consoles aren't doing. If you have more people signed up for your online service and you're giving them free games and keeping them engaged, at the end of the month, you're going to be making a lot more money. The amount of current current active users on the Xbox One and Xbox Live is staggering. It is tens of millions of people paying $15 a month just to get a free copy of an old Assassin's Creed and to play Rocket League against their friends. This is where Microsoft is making up their money in gangbusters. But on top of that, their exclusives are still selling pretty freaking decently. There seems to be this weird myth where people act like every single Sony game is just absolutely exploding because it sells a few million units. If Horizon Zero Dawn sells 3 million copies, we consider it the best breakout hit of all time. However, if suddenly Gears of War 4 only sells 1.2 million copies, it's considered this abysmal pit of despair where everybody lost their jobs. When in actuality, if you look at their console sales numbers, those are both really powerful successes. Alright, let's face it, Horizon Zero Dawn made a hell of a lot more money overall, but this isn't a failure. This isn't a zero-sum game. You can have multiple winners. In the Olympics, there's a gold medal, but there's also a silver medal. I contest that there isn't a loser in this current console war. The Switch is doing fine, the Xbox One is doing pretty damn good, and the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 is murdering it. It really gets under my skin that people seem to get this wrong. They consider Microsoft this horrible failure of a company just limping along, when in fact, Microsoft is bigger and more powerful than ever. You know, I'm gonna let you in on a secret that for some reason nobody talks about. Xbox One and the original Xboxes never made money. Microsoft simply makes these consoles for fun. Not for your fun, for their fun. Microsoft just thinks it's fun to have this home console that people are buying and enjoying. They're not looking to make a profit. They have hundreds of billions of dollars. Right now, Microsoft could buy almost every other company in America and still be fine. Sony, on the other hand, is really hurting for money. Their movies aren't doing well, no one's buying their cell phones, and their laptops suck so bad you can't give them away. If the PlayStation 4 stops selling this amazingly, they could be in trouble. So if you want to talk about a real winner, it's Microsoft just because of their software department. But I guess it's all kind of conjecture. It's fun to say that there's a winner, it's fun to say that there's a loser, and in this current battle, I guess it's hard to say anything other than the fact that the PlayStation 4 is it's a big time winner. All of us are winning. If you have a PlayStation 4, you're winning because of all the great games. But if you have an Xbox One, you're definitely not a loser either. Well guys, this has just been another gaming rant from DreamcastGuy. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. And it was a total dumpster fire. Oh, hi. I'm just working on the next video. If you want to see what it is, go ahead and click this button and you can subscribe. Also, if you click these video links, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. Now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and wait for you to subscribe. Oh, I guess I could put on these giant glasses. I literally found these on a roller coaster.